Hi guys, Alex here with Inside, and today we have a special edition for you of a beautiful holiday segment. So today we're not going to cover new projects, but we're going to discuss what happened in this past year in terms of events, in terms of statistics. I'll keep those to a minimum, I promise. And we'll of course discuss some potential predictions for this coming year in terms of the real estate market here in the UAE. So what really happened here this year? Sometimes I hear clients asking, is this market overheated? Is it going to stop growing? I've even had some clients suggest that they're going to wait for the prices to drop. Sorry to disappoint, that's unlikely to happen anytime soon, because in the last year, prices increased by over 18%. Rent is up 34%, and the average rental ROI is 7% net. For some people coming from Germany, from Czech Republic, maybe even the UK, where the numbers so far I've seen are close to 4 or 5, maybe a little bit higher percent. And this number can seem good, but in reality, it's actually possible to achieve 10% plus ROI here in the UAE, especially when we're looking at short-term rentals in popular locations from high-quality developers. So if you're interested in that, you can always write us, let us know. I'll be happy to find a project specifically that meets that criteria for you. Now, let's talk about some events that took place or developments and themes in this past year here in the UAE. So for one, of course, everyone knows, if you've seen any of my videos, about Ras Al Khaimah becoming a dominant player here in terms of the real estate market and getting the attention of most of the world. Why? Because the Win is building a casino there, the first for the UAE. And this is a big deal because this will be a central point between Macau and Vegas, and in combination with all the business opportunities and other entertainment and leisure here in the UAE, this presents a beautiful opportunity for getting the attention of tourists as well as locals. So the market has been heating up there. We've already seen an increase of 20 to 30% in prices even in the last 6 months, and our prediction is that it's going to continue going forward this way in the next year, but I'll touch upon that later in this segment. We've already seen Nobu, JW Marriott, Nikki Beach, Missoni, Ellington, Emaar, as well as a few others entered the market in Ras Al Khaimah, and it's not looking like it's going to stop anytime soon. So there's still opportunities, but realize that the casino is opening in 3 years, and that's the average life cycle for building a new project. So most of the releases are going to be happening soon if they haven't already. Now, the UAE is also host to major events. So recently the COP28 conference on climate change was hosted here in Dubai, attracting over 200 countries to be here. Now, what this is telling you is that Dubai is not just for business, not just for living, but it also attracts international conventions. And actually, with the opening of the casino in the UAE, not just for gaming, but from my perspective, it also serves as a meeting point for future conferences. Perhaps not as big as COP28, but nonetheless. What else did we see this year? There's been a lot of collaborations with brands, such as the Bugatti building from Benghazi, such as the Aston Martin collaboration. And you'll notice that sometimes these brands don't have a lot to do with architecture. And so from my standpoint, this happens when a developer wants to enter a higher class, a higher, let's say, luxury class by associating themselves with a luxury brand. Now, the question still remains whether they're going to be able to deliver at a level of quality, or whether the architecture, functionality, aesthetic of the building will increase proportionally. Conversely, there are also other brands or other developers that just inherently build beautiful, from my perspective, properties such as Ellington, Omniyat, and a few others. And you'll notice that oftentimes where interior design is woven into the nature and culture of a particular developer, they have significantly more attention to detail than perhaps other developers who focus on the economy segment. This is also true for partnerships with designers like Omniyat partners with Foster & Partners, who designed the Apple headquarters in Cupertino. There's some designers like Elisab who also have collaborations. And so overall, it's been a year of collaborations with brands, but not every brand and not every collaboration is created equal. And so there's some nuances to be had there for sure. And so just be mindful of that when you're considering where to invest. Myself, I moved to Dubai earlier this year after spending years in the past in the venture capital and asset management industries in Europe and in the US and in Asia. And what I've noticed for myself is that just because there is a beautiful brand, just because there's a beautiful render, doesn't necessarily mean that the project will be a high quality. Doesn't mean that there is attention to detail. It could be the case, but it's not a given. And so for myself, I've learned to be a lot more discerning and you could say critical of developers as well as projects, because I have a high bar for that. And I tend to attract clients who have the same, for whom the focus is not on finding the cheapest possible, but on finding the highest quality possible, so that it improves their rental ROI as well as their resale and living potential. Now, let's also mention that Dubai attracts not just business as maybe in the past, or maybe single individuals who are coming here to make money, though that's still the case. Now there's more and more of a shift of a residential feel in the city. So more and more developers are actually launching villa and townhouse projects, as well as you can see that the sentiment of investors is shifting more and more towards 2-3+ bedroom apartments for rental income, as opposed to before it being closer to studios and 1 bedrooms. By the way, this is especially true in areas like Ras Al Khaimah, where the traveling unit will be a family rather than an individual, most likely. What I've also noticed is that it's a very interesting mix of investors, because we work with Singapore, with Australia, we have investors in Germany, in the UK, in Czech Republic, Canada, US, and Brazil, and a number of other countries. And so the investor demographic is shifting here in the UAE, and especially from Europe and countries where the tax rate is relatively high. Sometimes I have investors telling me that they're paying 40-50%, and they're actually asking to help them reinvest their entire portfolio here in the UAE, which is always a beautiful challenge. It's a fun problem to have, and if this is you, I'm happy to work with you to help you build a beautiful portfolio here for passive income as well as for resale. Another notable event here as well is the opening of the first Dorchester Hotel in the Lana residence from Omniyat in Business Bay. I mentioned in a prior video about Omniyat's project Vela Viento that there's only 9 Dorchester hotels in the world, and the 10th one is opening here in the UAE. If nothing else, it shows you that highly selective brands as well as conferences are choosing to host here in the UAE. And this adds to, of course, short-term rental options, but also just in general improves the quality and the well-roundedness of the city, where there is, as I tell my clients, 3 income streams from potential investors and tenants, and that's one is from businesses who are choosing to relocate here because of the no capital gains tax and as well as no personal income tax, but that's more for individuals. There's also tourists who are, of course, being drawn by things like the new casino, like potentially some Formula One, as well as the amenities and museums in Saadiyat currently being built. And of course, there's the people who are living here. So there is a Dubai 2040 master plan to which the city is building. That means they're improving the public transportation. There's new metro lines being added, so areas like JVC and Greek Harbor and a few others are going to be receiving metro stops in the coming years. And this also means that the government has a plan and they're executing to this plan. So if you look at Dubai, the city is just over 50 years old, and look at what's been built here in that time. So from an investor standpoint, think of it this way. If an entrepreneur has a track record of completing exactly what they said they would do, that when they say they have a plan for the next 15 years, odds are they're going to pull that off because they've already done it in the past. And so when you're choosing to invest here in the UAE, this is one of the major risk factors that, from my perspective, is minimized from the way that the city is run. It's run very proactively with a vision, and it also just happens to be super well funded. Yeah, so back in venture capital days, this is exactly what I would focus on, is looking for entrepreneurs who are driven by passion more so than just money, and the fact that they say something and they do it. And the government here does just that. Let's talk about a few key trends that I think will be happening here. Of course, the Ras Al Khaimah development will continue gaining steam. There's still some land there that's hasn't been announced in terms of projects, and that will certainly be happening in the next 6 to 9 months as developers are trying to finish everything in time for the casino opening in January of 2027. So if you haven't invested there yet, that would be my recommendation, is that you send me a note and we find you something while there's still availability. In terms of Dubai, there are a few zones that I think that are interesting, including the starting of the new Palm, which by the way also happened this year. I forgot to mention that. They've unfroze it and now it's almost half of the fronts have been launched. Starting price is around 18 million dirham or $5 million, and they've been selling out almost instantly. By the way, this is another note that I should mention. Sometimes this is an interesting notion for investors coming from other industries or other geographies, is that the decision timing for investments here in Dubai is significantly shorter than maybe people are used to. I had a client have about 5 minutes to decide to take a new apartment in a development in Ras Al Khaimah, and sometimes the most you have is 24 hours, because that's the price that you pay for being in a project that grows at 20+% a year. So just something to keep in mind when you're considering future investments. Other areas in Dubai to take note of: Dubai Maritime City, where Emaar is building out the community aspect, and there are other developers building out the island itself. Over the next 2-3 years, that's going to continue to appreciate in value at my perspective 20+% a year, as well as Dubai South, close to the new airport, DWC, is going to continue growing in the coming years, as well as it is close to the new Palm, and that entire area between the new Palm and the airport will be built out. Of course, important to also mention Abu Dhabi. There's some coastal developments there next to royal palaces, such as Al Jorf and Ohana by the Sea, that are providing waterfront living and exclusive community. And that area between Dubai and Abu Dhabi will continue to expand because it's on the water. And then of course in Abu Dhabi itself, Ramhan Island, Saadiyat, Yas, Reem are going to continue growing, with all the museums in Saadiyat being delivered in just about 2 years. That will continue drawing investor interest. For instance, Nobu launched a project there in Saadiyat as well, where 1 bedroom is 8 million and a 2 bedroom is 14 million dirham, which is one of the highest that I've seen in all of UAE. And the fact that it's happening shows you that there's investor attention there as well. And of course, the value of exclusivity and the value of being on the waterfront always plays an important role. And of course, let's not forget, in terms of the rental market in Dubai, areas like JBC, like Dubai Hills, like Dubai Creek. By the way, if you haven't been there, check it out. It's one of my favorite areas in the city. It feels like walking around in Miami. They will also continue growing, and the focus there will be more on the rental returns, perhaps more so than on resale, but depending on what you're looking for, this could be a great place to live as well as to rent out. So with all this being said, I really appreciate all of you guys watching our videos. I appreciate you getting in touch. It's always such a pleasure when a client writes to me and says, I'm in town for a couple of days, I've seen all of your videos, can we please meet? And we always end up having a beautiful partnership. It always warms my heart. So thank you guys for your time, your attention, your energy. Please leave your feedback below in the comments. Please send me a note through the link. Just say it's for Alex, and I'll be happy to work with you. Once again, guys, wishing you beautiful holidays. Have a beautiful new year, and I'll see you soon.